Hello and welcome to another Fourth Down Fiasco exclusive interview. I'm Jordan Pryor, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Danny Weber. And with us today is a very special guest. For those of y'all who have followed us from the beginning, you know that in season 1, I said that I would get a former NFL player on this pod, and today we are doing just that. But more than just a former quarterback for the Miami Dolphins and the Philadelphia Eagles, this man is the current MVP frontrunner for the European League of Football. He's the San Diego Deadshot, the Madrid Madman, your favorite quarterback's favorite quarterback. And I know he's wearing a hat, but definitely has the best hair in the ELF, one Reid Sinnett. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I was joking earlier. I got a hat head for you. So, next time I'll make sure that I get it all done up for you. So it's been good.
You took off the hat and it still was landing like perfectly in place. As someone who, you and I are the same age and my hairline's receding, so I'm just like, I'm over here just jealous, man. My hair doesn't just fall like that.
It takes lots of work. I'm making sure that I got everything done right on the sidelines. It takes a lot of effort.
Oh, for sure. Honestly, with hair like that, you should run for office. I'd vote for you.
I appreciate it.
Reid, the number one question, and I'm sorry I didn't send this one to you, but I got to throw you off guard, corner you a little bit here. Everybody wants to know, are you coming back to Madrid next year?
Oh, that is a really, you told me it was nothing but softballs, and you throw this at me right at the beginning. I have a lot of stuff to figure out with my life back home. So, I am not sure. And that is the honest answer. I kind of came into the season thinking that this would be a great way to wrap up my career, to get to travel and experience, playing in Europe and all that stuff. And I accomplished, I think, what I wanted to in terms of contributing to a team and getting to have that type of experience. But things have changed, and maybe I got to stick my foot in the door and say, maybe I'll come back. So I don't know, but I would love to participate with Jaime and Victoria and do whatever I can to help them further the organization.
Love it. Well, spoken like a true politician and answer without an answer. Well done.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We were all kind of just wondering if that was something that you were even interested in. We would love to have you back. Personally, this past season has been a ton of fun, especially with you, AC, C-League. This Madrid, especially the offense, was just, it was cinema. Every weekend it felt like. But I'm going to scale things back a little bit and now give you one of the softball questions.
Okay, cool.
Just for those who might be watching or listening that may not know you all that well, kind of give us your quick rundown of how you got into football, how you ended up, college, NFL, and then eventually to the ELF.
I grew up playing every sport I could, baseball, basketball, golf, soccer, tennis, hockey, anything that I could play, I wanted to. And I gravitated towards the position. There's nothing like being a quarterback in all of athletics. And I had more offers to play baseball than I did to play football. It was 1 and 0, so it wasn't that many. But I decided that I wanted to be a quarterback. And so I went to the University of San Diego. It's non-scholarship. I sat behind, an all-time leader in pretty much every statistical category, Anthony Lawrence, who's one of my best friends. And I waited. So I only got one season to start my 5th year. I felt like I played really well. I got opportunities because my roommate, Michael Bandy, who's currently with the Denver Broncos, was an absolute freak. And so scouts were coming to see him and they were like, oh, who's this quarterback? So I got opportunities and I felt like I was able to run with it. And then I was an undrafted free agent with Tampa Bay. I was lucky enough to be around Tom Brady, and then spent time in Miami with Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tua. I got a chance to play that next preseason, and it's the only game I've started in the NFL. My dad called me. There was a Dan Patrick segment the other day where they were talking about preseason most yards in a game, and I believe I still hold that record. And so Dan Patrick was talking about how he has no idea who Reid Sinnett is and who is this guy. So, glad to know that I'm still relevant in the NFL. And then I got claimed on waivers to go to Philadelphia. I was on the active roster for a bit, and I felt like I played great in that preseason in practice. I didn't perform as well in the game, and there was something between me and the head coach that I didn't quite understand, and I ended up not having a job after that. I bounced around. So I went back to Miami for a bit, got to spend some time in Cincinnati while Joe Burrow was hurt, and played in the UFL and the XFL mixed in there somewhere. And for me, my XFL and UFL experience was supposed to be hey, you're going to be the starter, and we're going to build this thing around you, and we're going to do this. And frankly, the coaches were not very good. And so we butted heads and they took things personally. And I don't think I'm that kind of person. And so there was some ego that got in the way, and that part was challenging. And so this ELF experience was a chance for me to go travel. And I knew that I wanted to play in Europe from the time that I was in college, because I thought it would be the extent of my professional career. And I came over here because of Andrew, and Ryan Griffin kind of set me up with it, a teammate from Tampa Bay. And I felt like Madrid and Andrew was the perfect situation for me. And now we're here.
Nice. I love that you didn't call out Sirianni, but as a Cowboys lover and a Philly hater, thank you for confirming all of my biases with that one. So, I feel like a lot of us amateur athletes, and I think Danny can attest to this too, a lot of us amateur athletes have moments where we realize I'm not going to make the pros, right? For me personally, it was I got concussed in a rugby game, making a tackle against a big old half black, half Samoan dude that's just built like a tank. And I was like, yeah, I'm probably not going to be on the USA team, right? But for you, it's a little bit different. You're on the flip side of things. What was the moment where you kind of sat there and said, I could actually make an NFL team? What was that like?
Danny, what was your moment? When did you realize it was over?
Ooh, I know this moment.
No, the high school baseball sophomore year, took a fastball to the face and shattered my jaw.
Oh, nice. That's good. Did you have to get it wired shut? Were you smoothies for a month?
Yep.
Oh, nice, man.
Wired shut. Yeah. Lost like 25 pounds and just kind of never recovered to college.
That's tough. That's tough. That's good. That's good.
Thank you for asking that, by the way.
Yeah. To answer your question, Jordan, it was my freshman year at the University of San Diego. Our head coach, Dale Lindsay, was an older guy, old school guy. His locker mate with the Cleveland Browns was Jim Brown. So he had been around and seen a lot of NFL football. And he told me my freshman year, Reid, if you were a really good surprise in training camp, like you have the right mentality, I think you could play in the NFL if you keep doing all the right things. And I remember telling my buddies from home that, and them all like laughing at me, like, you're at a non-scholarship school, dude, like, and you're not playing. Like, how are you going to make it to the NFL? And so I had coaches at USD that kind of believed in me on that front. And then when scouts kind of started coming back the second time to come see me, my fifth year, I was kind of like, all right, maybe I'm going to get a shot to do this. And I didn't know if that meant just a training camp invite or if I could actually play. And then in the NFL, I remember getting some reps as Josh Allen with the Dolphins, and Fitzy kind of grabbing me after the rack and being like, hey, have you thought about doing this? Or have you thought about doing that? Or why'd you go there? And he coached me and taught me so much just from my scout team reps. And I was confident. Like the 2 years that I was with Miami, I was like, throw me out there because I'm going to win us a football game. And I felt like that every week. And so I'm bummed it didn't happen that way, but I kind of felt like that mentality stuck with me, even into this year.
Love it.
Yeah. So you got NFL, you got ELF. Aside from it being on a completely different continent, what's the biggest difference between the NFL and the ELF in your mind?
Early on, it was really funny. Like Andrew, I was all coverage based. I'm like, I'm going over there because of this and because of that. And Andrew's like, no. This is Europe. If that's an American and that's a homegrown, throw at the homegrown. He kind of taught me some of those things where you're like knowing the game and how the roster rules work and things like that play into the league for sure. And I think that that's an interesting dynamic of it. I think the story that I think sticks out the most is I had my duffel bag of all my stuff, my cleats, my compression stuff, all the stuff that I was going to need for practice on a daily basis. And I was kind of like, hey, where's the locker room? And they're like, down the hall to the right. I'm like, okay, cool. And I walk in and it's just like a box. It's just like a changing room. And I was like, oh, so this isn't a locker room, like this is going to be different than what I expected. And so there were some of those things that I think were funny and, a little bit of a shock, but overall it was great.
Yeah. And so, locker room's a little bit of a surprise. What other surprises did you have coming to the ELF?
European hotel rooms do not have AC. So there were a lot of nights that we would go on the road and I'd be like, why is it 85 degrees in here? Sorry, 25 degrees Celsius. That was hard for somebody that's like, I'm very particular about my sleep and my routines and things like that. I think I learned that from playing in the league. And it was funny that was like the biggest shock to me. I'm like, guys, why is it so hot in here? Why is it so hot?
Why
Europe hasn't
hopped on the AC trend yet? Come on, like it's just helpful. It's nice.
It's insane. It's insane to me, and it's everywhere. Like I'm staying at, by week I stayed in a nice hotel in Rome, and I didn't have AC, and the air is stale, and it's it's 29 degrees Celsius, and I'm like, it's hot. It's hot. Like, come on, let's get some airflow in here.
That's funny. Yeah. I mean, I've the couple of times my wife and I have visited Europe. Each time we went to a very specific hotel that caters towards American tourists. And so we've had AC everywhere we've gone. But I have heard that is a big complaint for a lot of folks, especially if you're not expecting it.
For sure.
Thankfully, we were expecting it. We were like, all right, so we're not going to go to this hotel. This one advertises AC for their American tourists. So we're going to go to that one.
Yep, that's the move.
Well, you've mentioned Coach Weidinger a couple of times. How is he as a coach? What do you like and/or maybe dislike about his coaching style? Remember, this is a safe space, brother.
You start with the hard question, and you're like, yeah, just say something crazy about him. Coach Andrew was awesome. I think that he is a really brilliant football brain, like the way that he sees the game, the way that he calls plays. He and I see it very similarly in a lot of ways. So, one of the things that I love to participate in is the game planning and setting plays and talking about that stuff. And, there was a point in the season where I had other things going on, and I was always confident every week that he was going to put me in a position to be successful, whether or not I had a bunch of ideas or didn't. And so that as a quarterback is encouraging because you know that you're going to go out there and have answers, even if you get a funky look or something that you don't expect. He's a comedian. He loves to he loves a captive audience. It's his favorite thing. So meetings are how many stories can I tell and how many jokes can I get off and, who's going to laugh at my jokes. And, I learned quickly I laughed at everything. I'm like, Andrew, you're hilarious. You're the funniest guy on the planet. I've never met anybody funnier. But we lost in 2-roll. And I felt like that last play of the game was my fault. It weighed on me. I lost sleep over it. And we're on our bus ride back to the hotel. And he gets on the mic and he's like, I screwed this up. I didn't put you guys in a position to have success, whatever. He called somebody out and he's like, get up here. You got to sing a song for everybody. So then he just turned it into everybody had to come up and sing a song, and it changes the dynamic of everything. And I think that's one of the more impressive things that he was able to do is, kind of shoulder the blame and then, find a way to change the vibe a little bit. He was awesome to play for.
I love that. I've seen some interviews with him and the guys over at First Down Magazine, and he seems like a jokester. Are they normally dad jokes?
No.
Oh.
He has Anthony Jeselnik humor. Like the darker the better. The more messed up the better. And he doesn't cross the line, but he toes it, and he likes to toe it, and it's always works because it's funny. But he loves it, and I think we have a similar sense of humor, so it's great.
Love that. So it sounds like he's one of the big proponents of such good team chemistry that y'all have over there in Madrid. Now, something that I want to ask you about chemistry as well. You and Lightning McCrookshank out there. That is such a great nickname. I hope he carries that forever. You guys from week 2 and on basically were just on the same page with everything. How did y'all develop such elite chemistry so quickly?
I think one of the strong suits of Andrew is that he figured out what our strengths were very quickly. And I had a perception of the things that I did well and how we were going to attack certain things. And he took advantage of the things that we were great at. And that was, how can we get AC running in a straight line, and how can we get him the ball in his hands as quickly as possible? Mm-hmm. And we moved him around. We did that a lot. And he was amazing. I mean, being able to throw a screen pass or a slant and go for 80 is like a quarterback's dream. And so, there's even plays that I think of where he's just the hot answer versus nickel pressure. Put the ball on him, not even a great ball, and he spins out and he breaks tackle, and then you're like, that should be a 7-yard gain, and somehow it's, flirting with being a touchdown. And so as a quarterback, when you have guys that, you just need to put the ball in their hands and they're going to make plays, that's the best thing ever.
Gotcha. So that's how you got the 4,000 yards passing and the 50 touchdowns. Okay, that makes sense.
His air yards is probably like 200, but yards after catches, that's the other 3,800.
Exactly.
I figured out very quickly that they don't cover the running backs in the ELF. So it was like, this coverage, this play, they dropped really deep. Okay, Eustace, take the ball. And like, it made my life easy. And I think that that's one of the things that, my experience brought to the table that's a lot different than other guys is, I don't think my highlights are very exciting, but I just was efficient and I just took what the defense gave us. And then, defensively, like, you can't be right because I'm just going to throw the ball to the guy who's open. And, we have guys that can make people miss with the ball in their hands. So that made it, I think, was part of why we were so successful.
I think you finished with almost a 73% completion percentage or something like that. Something stupid.
72.98. Yeah. So 73% basically.
That's just wild. But so besides having the number one wide receiver in the league, what else attributed to the offense's success?
I mean, I think like I said, Andrew and his ability to understand what we were good at, and then we were so good up front. Like, I think the offensive line was our deepest group. Brennan Oswin was unbelievable this year. I hope that he gets the recognition he deserves. And he's one of those guys that if there's a mistake or something happens, he's immediately like, hey, I saw this. I messed it up. Like, I got you. And I'm like, dude, I don't care. Like, I know how hard you play, so you keep doing what you're doing. And I loved that about Brennan specifically. And, the combination of Andrew putting us in situations to be successful, me being able to get the ball out of my hands versus pressure, knowing where the ball should go, and the offensive line being good enough to let us take shots down the field and also get the ball out of my hands, I think was the recipe for why we were a good offense.
I mean, I'm looking at it right now, and you were only sacked 8 times, which is,
and a couple of those were like clock management sacks. Like, I broke the pocket and I just went down so that the clock would keep running because we were winning. And like, that number is really probably like 3 or 4, and I would imagine that a couple of them were my fault as well. So that number is deceiving too.
Well, I mean, that's crazy because it is the lowest out of the top quarterbacks. And if you're looking at the top 10 quarterbacks in the ELF, it is, I guess it's 2 less than Riley Hennessy's, but then afterwards it's like
he
big
played
gap.
like 6 games though. So
And how many attempts did we have compared to the other teams?
Yeah,
exactly. Whereas, like, I believe the next person is Ben Holmes at 18. So, I mean, it is, you were like untouched all season. So,
and I think that was the part of it is, I think that my playmaking ability is a big part of my game. And so when stuff didn't work, I was able to get on the perimeter and extend plays. And, I'm not very athletic, but I think that I ran the ball decently well this year. Like, and it wasn't designed runs. I'm not like Jalen Henderson in Paris. It was kind of like, scramble. Oh, the defense is all super deep. Let me get 15 yards and then get out of bounds or slide and look unathletic. So it worked out all right.
Hey, even with the awkward running stance, you still got 4 rushing tugs. That's more than what I
had 5. Yeah, it's fair. Should have had 5. I don't know if you guys have seen that Frankfurt play, but
I was going to bring that up when you were like, just call it a touchdown. Just go to review. Like, you're wrong.
Wait, could you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So
it was a hot mic. Yeah.
So did you? Yeah, that's probably not good.
No, it's fine.
Was there the part about me telling him it was a terrible officiating? Like, was there all of that?
The whole thing.
Oh,
that's
good to know.
Right there.
That's good to know. I'm glad that was caught on video.
How he didn't call it a touchdown though is beyond me. Like, it didn't even look like a question.
And if this is what, I don't care who scores the touchdowns. I really don't. It was it's officiating. Like, it's like, if it's a touchdown, it goes to review automatically. So if I was out or close, it's gonna get reviewed. Now you put it in the off. You have to throw a challenge flag in a game that we're winning. Like, and after that, I'm kind of yelling at the ref and I'm looking at the sideline. Like, they're signaling me the next play. And our offensive line coach, Wade, who was awesome, he's like kind of going like this to me, and I'm shaking my head like, no. Like, I'll take this delay game. Like, I almost called a timeout just out of spite. And then I was like, all right, fine. And I called, whatever our flank right punch just to get in the end zone. And Molina scored, and I immediately walked over to the official to keep letting them have it. But that's how it goes.
I love that. That's awesome. So, you had mentioned just how well your offensive line had played throughout the season. I know that this playoff loss that y'all had was very heartbreaking, especially since, y'all were the best offense in the league the entire season. What would you attribute to the main offensive struggles against the Surge?
I mean, they do some unique stuff. Like, you see a lot of cover 4 in this league. You see a lot of basic fronts. And they play that 3-3-5, and they blitz and they stunt, and they have studs. So, the guys up front and stuff, for them are super talented. And I think that's where they're strong as a team. They made it hard on us, and we didn't handle all of it all the time. And that's part of the game. There were a couple situations where we could have been up 14-0, and I made mistakes. I missed Sixton on a play where I was trying to get AC the ball, and I should have just taken the easy one. And then we just got down there and we didn't punch it in. And so that changes the dynamic of the game. I fumbled in the second quarter in the 2-minute drive. Like, those are big moments in the game, and those are on me. So those kinds of things, I think, start to stack up. And frankly, as a team this year, we had to be pretty dialed in on offense to stay in those games. And a lot of times it came down to one mistake that we made or got off rhythm. And that's how we what was our final record? 8-4. Is it 12 games?
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
8-4 versus like legitimately 10-1. Like, I think that's a very real possibility. And I don't think that's like crazy fan fiction. It's a couple plays throughout the season.
Yeah.
I mean, we were looking at it right before the playoffs started. There were 6 games that y'all were in that were decided by a touchdown, or no, 5 games that y'all were in that were decided by 1 touchdown, and you lost 4 of them. And that's brutal. I mean, yeah, to your point, exactly. Like, y'all could have been undefeated potentially if, the ball bounces a certain way, or,
it came down to like 3 or 4 plays. It wasn't even just like a game. Like the Tyrell 2-point conversion, the missed field goal attempt to go into overtime. And then I thought there was another one.
Both Munich games, like, this isn't Albie our kicker, but we missed a couple PATs. We had a drop on a 2-point conversion in the second Munich game. The first Munich game, I don't think we had an incompletion until like the middle of the third quarter. And it was like a 3rd down scramble, and I threw it 60 yards down the field, and JFC just barely dropped it. And you're like, I remember like standing there, like looking at Andrew, I'm like, that's the game right there. Like, that's kind of how it felt sometimes. And I joked with the guys, like, I'm pretty laid back, I'm a chill guy, I don't yell that much, I try to be encouraging and stuff. And then Sixton, the German receiver, was giving me such a hard time. He's like, you are not a chill guy. You are intense on the sideline. I was like, when, it feels like these single plays are deciding whether or not we're winning or losing, there's a little bit of intensity that I guess I brought that I didn't really expect to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the game, it's sports. You want to win, so emotions come out, emotions run high. We talk a lot about how Jadrian Clark handles a lot of his games too, of like, he is someone who I have seen him like bitch at his own coach. And he
does it every game. And
I love it, honestly, because you can tell that is someone who wants to win a game. And so like, when it comes to sports, like, you can't take things personally, because in the heat of the moment, it's like, we've got to win and we've got to do this to do it. And sometimes it just comes off with a little too much excitement. And that's all that it is.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just in the playoff game or the semifinal game, one of his wide receivers dropped would have been a touchdown, and he rolled out, threw it, dropped it, and you could see his helmet rolling around across the field. Like, Clark just took and threw his helmet off because it was like 3rd and 5 or something like that.
Oh, man.
I mean, I would never. I coach young kids, and I'm like, you never get to do that stuff. And there's a few times throughout the year where, helmets into the bench or something like that, and I try not to let guys see that or show that too much. But for the first 3 games, like, I might do this as a project for myself. But I think we had like 12 or 14 touchdowns called back or dropped, and like, that's not that's a huge number. That's a huge number. And, if we're scoring 70 points those first 2 weeks, I think we're feeling a lot different about where we're at going into some of those games in the middle of the year. And, the first Frankfurt game, his year, told me he never commits penalties, and I keep giving him a hard time about it. And then he lines up offsides. Have you ever had a lineman line up offsides? Throw a touchdown to Eustace, gets called back. Then the next play, I hit AC right here, and he kind of dropped it, and it turned into a pick. And you're like, what are we doing, guys? We got to play out in front. And that's how our season went at times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fair enough.
But so all in all, you had a great season. How do you feel about being nominated for the MVP as one of the 3 finalists?
I mean, it's a really cool honor. And, I have always just wanted to play. That's been my whole career, is I just have wanted to play and be the kind of player that I think that I am. And I felt like this season was a really good representation of that in terms of, leading our guys, being there for the guys on and off the field. And I think that stuff shows up in how we played as a team. And I think it's a really big honor. And I hope that, AC or I win it. And that's a great sign for the Madrid Bravos. And I think is a testament to Andrew and what we were able to do this year as a team.
For sure.
You answered my next question. I was going to say, how does it feel to have 2 Bravos in the final 3? But
I think it's awesome. And I think AC, our team is much different without him on it. And, the way that he was able to make plays and change the dynamic of the game for us was a big impact.
Yeah. And, I do just want to, we'll toot your horn real quick with, the MVP nomination. Yeah, again, 73% completion percentage, just shy of 4,000 yards, 50 touchdowns through the air, an extra 4 on the ground, 4 interceptions, only 4 interceptions, and then a very limited 8 sacks, which to, your point that you were talking about, a lot of those were, play clock situations. We, for a while, may not see another ELF season this dynamic and efficient. Because even, with some of the other MVP candidates over the years and stuff, I don't know if they've had that completion percentage quite that high. It felt like every time you threw a ball, it was going to be caught, truly.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And, I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to. But, I think that part of it was that I sat out for a couple games, a couple halves, because – we were beating people, and, I always felt like I tried to execute what was going to help us win games. I wasn't going in there trying to stat pad or change numbers or, throw fades at the goal line to try to get numbers. And I think that from my conversations with guys that this is such a stat driven league, because I think that that's how people feel like they get another job. Mm-hmm. And I tried to make it very clear to my teammates, I'm here to help us win games. And the stats are a byproduct of that. So I don't care who wins MVP of the week. I don't care who, gets the touchdowns. If the best thing for us to win today is to hand it off 40 times, then let's do it. And I told Andrew a couple of times, later in the season when it was Munich and Frankfurt, I'm like, please just let me go out. Let it be me that wins or loses us these games. And I wanted that. I wanted to feel like that was my contribution to the group. And I never wanted to stat pad or chase anything. It was more about how we can help our guys win, and I think it showed up in our play style.
I agree. Yeah, definitely. And I understand why guys care about their stats, especially a lot of the A imports. They're trying to get UFL contracts. They're trying to get CFL contracts. They're trying to get NFL contracts potentially. But I would say I think it's more of an A import / the higher end E imports care about that. But those homegrown guys, man, they're there for the vibes, man. This is Danny. I'm sorry. I know you have the next question technically.
I don't care. Go for it.
But so, just with the homegrowns, I feel like we just don't ever show them enough love on our pod. What was it like getting to meet some of these guys who, they're Spaniards, but they grew up, liking American football? What is that culture like with those homegrowns?
I love the Spanish guys. And when I tell you that it's not comparable to anything in the States. Mm-hmm. There's guys that are there because they just love being around those people. Football is a reason for them to get to travel and spend time with their buddies. The way that they fight for each other, the way that they love each other, I think it was super unique. And, the Spanish guys love to fight. And I'm kind of like, we look ridiculous. Like, come on, guys, like quit doing that shit. But they like really feel that way about each other. And I think that that's something that's special. It comes out in different ways. They're a culture of people that love. And I think that was really, really cool. And the way that they embrace me, Jordy and, Peanut, Carlos, some of the guys on our team, like they invited me into their homes. Diego Uteris, one of the backup quarterbacks, like they invited me to come spend time with them in their hometown and with their families. And like, that was really special to me because it felt like they embraced me and who I was just as a person. And it made the experience all the better.
That's awesome.
I will say I love watching your YouTube videos, your little behind the scenes series. That was great to watch throughout the season.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We should have one more coming up to kind of wrap it up. So hopefully we can capture the excitement of our little playoff push in the last game. And hopefully I can get back to Stuttgart for the ELF honors.
There you go.
If you get to Stuttgart, let me know. I'll buy you a beer or something if you drink. I'll be over there as well.
Cool.
But so Jordan's been hitting you with all the hard questions. I've had softballs. But how do you feel about the EFA? And that whole scenario going on, what all do you even know about it?
I mean, I have such an outsider perspective on all of it. And I think that from my understanding, I think what's going to be best for European football and the growth of it is going to be something where everybody has skin in the game in terms of the growth as well as like the independence for each organization. And so talking with Jaime and Victoria about, the differences between the ELF and what's going on right now, I think it's a really great thing that they're taking the lead on, it sounds like. And again, I don't have any unique perspective because I didn't know what the ELF was like before, but it sounds like from their perspective that it's going to be more efficient for the ownership and hopefully spread out the revenue and stuff like that to hopefully get these organizations closer to being profitable so that the game can continue to grow.
Yeah.
I mean, everything that we've heard about it on our end, it sounds positive. I almost attribute it to almost like a workers union in a way of like, hey, we are a group of people and damn it, you're going to pay us. You're going to treat us right. We are going to be transparent. And I'm all about that kind of stuff, because, there's been some shady things. There's been some comments that people off record, like as soon as we stop recording, whenever we do these interviews that are like, yeah, by the way, I haven't been paid in like 2 months. Yeah. And we're like, oh my God, what? So.
Right. And that's the thing that I think the EFA is looking to build is more transparency for the players and stuff. And hopefully it gets to a point where people can make real money doing this. You know what I mean? Like the Spanish guys aren't making any money. And so for them to have a standard of care in terms of how they travel and getting paid on time and all of those things, like you need the right people involved in that. And I think, I don't know anybody in Cologne. I don't know the organization, anything like that, but they were on a different level than everybody else in the league. And for the league to become better, you need to have parity every year where like every week there's exciting games. Yeah. Like you look at the EFA group and you're like, there could be great games every week, and it's why the NFL is so exciting.
Mm-hmm. If your worst team is Berlin at 3-9,
I'll take that.
Great. Yeah,
I'll take that.
Right.
Yeah. Because it isn't fun whenever this past season it was the three-headed monster of Helvetic, Farivar, and Cologne, and it isn't fun going into those games being like, yep, well they're Cologne's playing you guys, and it's like, oh well, they might drop 80 on them, or you just can't have that and make the league exciting and get people hooked because. We recommend games to our friends all the time of like, hey, this one's going to be on Amazon Prime, like go check it out. And anytime that there is a game involving one of those three teams, I do not tell my friends about those games,
sure.
Whereas like,
and as a player,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
And as a player too, like you want good competition.
And those are games where you just go, I hope nobody gets hurt. And like, I had the thing in our first Helvetic game where, is it Darius? The American DN who ended up going to Paris. Like
Marcus Artis.
Yeah. Yeah, Ortiz. He decleated me when the game was over. And whether I don't know his motives, like I'm not playing that game, but like those are kinds of things that happen in a game like that. You're like, what is like why? Like the game's over. Like let's not. It doesn't need to be like that. And so then you're kind of just like, okay, we got to get out of here without stuff happening, and that's not where you want to be as a player.
Yeah,
It's okay.
That play earned him the Fiasco Player of the Week, by the way.
I think deservedly so. Thanks, guys. Thanks for the defense.
If he didn't get ejected, it was going to Tua's brother. Because
we were going to give it to Talia.
Tua's brother and Ortiz, but because of the ejection and him just absolutely killing you for no reason.
I think that's the hardest of it. I looked like an ejector dummy. Like I literally flew like 5 yards. It was insane. I saw it on tape. I was like, oh my God, I gotta hit the weight room.
that was funny. Yeah, when he did that too, we were already talking about making Tua's little brother Fiasco Player of the Week or whatever, and then that happened. I was like, "Damn it, DeMarco!" I was like, "You ruined the graphic for us."
All right. And he apologized, and so it was not personal or anything like that, but it was crazy.
Guy. Yeah.
But it was a crazy thing to happen in a game, and like the fact that there was a conversation on whether or not he should be ejected was wild.
Yeah. Well, let's we're going to steer the conversation away from the ELF and the EFA and move more towards the NFL. So, before your ELF journey, you were a bit of a journeyman in the NFL. How did you handle the pressure of trying to make a 53-man roster?
It's interesting. What I learned about myself is that when I was trying to make the roster, I played really well and I was, engaged and felt really confident about my play. And then the year that I was in Philly after I'd been on the active roster, it felt like I was trying to hang on to it. And I didn't play as well. And so, that was an interesting dynamic. I never made it out of a training camp without getting cut. That always just was the worst. I played the best game of my... I go to the movies. I'm like, I got to do something that's not sitting, freak out every time my phone buzzes. But it's the worst day of the year. My buddies were going through it this last couple of days. And so it's kind of like, go see a movie. You got to try to do something to distract yourself. I remember in Cincinnati, I kind of knew that I was going to get cut. It was just kind of that point in my career. And I was so frustrated because I was like, guys, just send me home. Like, I know what this is. Like, I thought I was going to get cut Monday, and now it's Wednesday afternoon. Like, can I just go home, please? And so there's stuff like that where you're like, I just needed to progress and move on. But it's not a fun day. It's not a fun day.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously not the same level of anything here, but I've had a job before where me and the manager just butted heads. It wasn't going well. I could tell that I was going to get fired, and I was just like, all right, when are you going to do it? Finally it came down to like, I was tired of waiting on it. And so I was just like, I'm going to put in my 2 weeks and march out of here and be the cool guy that walked away. Right. But
it's good to see Cincinnati also string along cuts and not just contract negotiations as well.
Oh yeah, they it's a unique organization, and it's not all bad, but like they're one of the few teams that like their family money is in the team. So like those little decimal points and those little decisions make a difference for them as a family, and so it's not ideal as a player all the time, but it is a unique situation in the NFL, and it's hard to recognize unless you're there.
I grew up in Cincinnati. I've been a Bengals fan my entire life. My dad had season tickets for whoever knows how long. But no, it's funny now listening to players talk about it. It's like, okay.
But, it's a little different.
Is there a favorite organization that you've worked with, played for, all of that?
Miami was unbelievable. It's like first class in every way. I say this story a lot. We flew on a jet. I think it was owned by the team. But I was with the team. I went to Philadelphia. I came back the next year when Tua was hurt. And I get on the plane for the first road trip. And the stewardesses that worked in the section were like, hey, Reid, it's really good to see you again. Like, really glad you're back. And I'm like, oh, cool. They, remember my name or saw it on the list, whatever. And I went to the bathroom and I came back to sit down, and they had put a San Pellegrino in my seat because I would always order a sparkling water. And that's just like first class service in every way. And that's how they operate, the cafeteria is open 365. I could go in and be like, hey, can I have a steak and potatoes? And they would make it. If you're like, hey, can I have a ham and cheese sandwich? They'll make it, right? That's how they are. And when you treat those people with respect, they treat you back with respect. And Miami was unbelievable.
Love it. Love it. Love it. And, I know that earlier in the interview, whenever we were, kind of grilling you about whether or not if you're going to go back to Madrid, now that we're talking about the NFL, is there also, I know that you're working things out, but you did also mention moving to, New York. I know that they've got kind of a crazy quarterback room out there. Are you trying to potentially make an NFL comeback at any point? Anything like that on the horizon for you?
This is an interesting topic. You can clip this one. So I think that guys have the wrong perception about the ELF. It's not a league to go and jump to the NFL. It's just not. Like, the competition's way different. The professionalism is way different. So when I talked with American guys, they're like, oh, I'm going to the ELF to go to the league. It's not the avenue, right? It is the place to go enjoy playing football and have a unique cultural experience and do all of the things that you want to do in Europe, but it is not the place to try to find your way back to the NFL, in my opinion. So if somebody called me and said, hey, we want you to be a 2, I would definitely go. Do I think that that's going to happen? Absolutely not. And even I have coaches and friends that are in the league that have followed and seen what I've done this year. And, I had a couple tryouts during the April and May while I was there, and I didn't obviously go home for them. But I don't think I want to be a P squad guy that's there for 4 weeks and gets cut. It's just not where I want to be in my life anymore. And if I got an opportunity to go play, then that would be different. But I just think the NFL has moved on for me, and I'm totally okay with that. That's partially why I went to Europe. So it's not the league to find your way to the NFL. It is go and enjoy the experience and take it for what it is. And I think if you go in with that mentality, you'll have a much better time than if you're saying, I'm going to go to the league after this.
I like that. I appreciate that perspective on it too, because I do think that there's a push as well from within the ELF of like they want to be able to send guys to the NFL. I get it because it helps them look better and more appealing, especially for their A import, right? But you've mentioned it several times about the cultural aspect of it, and I mean I can only imagine what it's been like for the past 5 months for you, just getting to hang out in Europe and go do things and go see things. And like that to me is, I'm a big travel guy too. And so like, that sounds like a dream to me,
That's, I think, the best part about it is I got to live in Madrid. I could take the train in, I'd go have coffee and, sit in a cafe for a little bit. I'd study, I'd do some work for my business. Then I'd go to practice and I'd work, until, the early morning, and then I'd do it again. So it was a really good experience. And I'd been to Paris one time before that. So to get to travel around and spend my, off days going to different parts of Europe was a special experience.
Hell yeah.
What's your business? You said you do work for your business. What's yours?
Shamelessly plug.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a quarterback consulting, I guess is what I call it. It's called Rising Tide QB Academy. I work with kids online. So, we've had some European kids join. It's a chance to build that relationship with me and have access to NFL knowledge. And then I have some kids that I work with privately one-on-one to really help them kind of elevate their game and have more of that personalized approach. And then I do some consulting for guys that are on camera that you see talking about the NFL. And it's a really fun project because they'll be like, hey, here's my hypothesis on Justin Herbert. Can you find some stuff to support it or deny it? And then it's like, hey, I found this thing and he does this really well and he does that. Here's why I think he's, struggling in this aspect or whatever. Or it's like, no, I totally disagree. Here's what I found. And that's been a really fun part of this process. So I think I'm going to find different ways to stay around the game and make money in that sense. But for any of the young quarterbacks that are listening to this, check out the Rising Tide QB Academy. And it's a great way to learn how to be a great quarterback.
Love that. Yeah. Shamelessly plug, brother. This is a safe space for it. Well, we're coming to the end of our interview here. Danny has one last question for you. It's his favorite question to ask everybody.
It's always the last question we ask. But if you could take one NFL player and drop him on the Bravos roster, ignoring the A import rules, who would it be?
My buddy Kirk Merritt. If he was with me while I was in the Miami Dolphins, He is an absolute freak. He can play running back. He can play slot. He can play outside. If you watch those highlights that I had in the 2021 preseason, like every ball is going to him. He's just like, he's unbelievable. We played together in Houston with the Roughnecks for a little bit, and he got hurt, unfortunately, but he's an absolute stud, one of my best friends, and he's who I'd take with me.
Hell yeah.
Nice. I think that's the first one that didn't just take like a superstar.
No, because the superstar, they're going to dominate, but they're also going to do their own thing. I want somebody that I've got a relationship with to come hang out with me. That's what I was looking for.
That's fair.
Actually, I take that back. That's the wrong answer. I take my buddy Michael Bandy, who was my roommate in college. I can't believe I overlooked that. My roommate Michael Bandy, who's playing for the Broncos, I would take with me. Little slot. He'd be great because then I'd have my buddy to go travel and all that stuff.
There you go.
Perfect.
Regardless, you're bringing a homie with you is what you're saying. And
right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
No, that's awesome. Because normally guys are like, yeah, dude, put Patrick Mahomes on my team or Tyreek Hill or like,
Someone did say Jason Kelsey. They wanted a center.
True. Yeah. Who was that?
I forget.
It was one of the quarterbacks said that. And I was like, oof, that's rough. But, well, cool. Reid, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to watch you play this season. Again, selfishly, we're hoping that you come back, but we totally understand that you got your own things, you got your own life. But again, it has been just such a joy getting to watch you play this year. And best of luck to you moving forward. Is there any social media that you want to plug for folks before we end the interview?
I'm pretty easy to find. I'm Reid Sinnett on pretty much everything, and then check out the Rising Tide QB Academy. It's it's me talking about football, and check out our YouTube stuff. I did some behind the scenes stuff. We hit on that briefly, but go give that a check on YouTube, and I appreciate you guys for having me.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for listening and watching on YouTube. This has been Danny and Jordan. You can follow us at 4th Down Fiasco on TikTok and Instagram, and at 4th Down_pod on Twitter. But yeah, this is the three of us, Danny, Jordan, and Reid Sinnett, saying so long.
Peace.
Thanks, guys.